Well, to that point, what percentage of your time do you feel like in your current activities do you spend on that business operational role? I mean, the reality is you've just described what an entrepreneur has to do, right? You've got to be prepared to walk away from clients you don't want.
Yeah.
Many times, I think both of you probably have experienced, as we have, those clients come back. And then it's a much better situation. But you know, in effect, you're running a business enterprise.
Yes.
And
I think
that
that's
has
the
to be
challenge
recognized.
that often it's hard to explain to a community member. You say, you know, why do you have to think about, why do you have to interact and consult and deal with these different companies and businesses? Because I guess they think that like graduate student costs and lab costs are all just somehow paid for. But I mean, at any given time, I may have 3 to 5 doctoral students that have stipends and costs associated with them and more. And so we have to be successful continuously, and not just here and there. We've got to be successful continuously to be able to continue to provide that kind of academic leadership and products that demonstrate, hey, we are the go-to, we're the go-to lab if you want to answer questions that relate to human factors and devices.
So there's a perfect segue there. You're having to commit time to those type of entrepreneurial, business operation type concerns. Certainly that comes at a cost, right? I mean, that's time and effort. When you flip this all around and look from the other direction, how do you feel that those activities ultimately, you know, the conducting of your teaching, your research, your outreach, your partnerships, when all those come together and they come together well, where do you find the magnification? Oh yeah, I think back to my...
Let me back up just a little bit and address this timing issue. I think one thing you've got, again, it's a difference between industry and academics.
Okay.
And that is, typically industry does not ask twice. If they want something, they're going to ask you for something, and if you don't respond, they're going to go find it somewhere else. And we're not used to that, right? So one of the biggest time commitments that I have with industry is just being there to answer their question when it's asked, and to get them what they need. Right? You have to respond quickly. And that's been a difficult thing for this university to do, is to move things through fast enough. Right? I mean,
Well,
we're on camera, so I can't give you the example. but that's important, right? And if you're going to go into this sort of work, you really do have to have the mindset that they come first. You have to do all your other duties and get those done. But when that partner calls, you've got to find a way to respond. Now, to get back to this other point that you're making, where do you find that amplification? Where I find it, and Sam touched on this, is what I found is that I brought a certain expertise to the conversation. But I was invited into the boardrooms to defend that little data set. And as I sat there, I got to listen to all of these other people that were working, right, in the same project. And you're sitting next to, you know, clinicians from Harvard that did the clinical piece, and, you know, the guys that did the toxicology from Singapore, and, you know, everywhere around the world. And you start to really put your work into the context of something much larger. And it made me a much better teacher. I mean, I could now talk to the medical students really understanding the complexities that they were going to deal with.
I think it's a brilliant point. You know, in many of those boardrooms, these are some of the best engineers in the world that we're sitting down with. I mean, they go after the top people in the world to figure out how to make pacemakers and defibrillators and stents better, stronger, faster, different, and sitting down with them makes you better. Now, in regard to that sort of wrapping it all up, well, to me, that's the definition of the best training possible, because when you're training a student, you have a graduate student, you're really preparing them for a marketplace 1 to 5 years out. So if you're working on yesterday's problems, it's 5 years yesterday by the time they're out. So the kinds of challenges that business brings us are challenges that are current, right now, hot. And so it's a real-time market sensitivity if you're working on problems that industry is dealing with, so that when our trainees come out, even if they go into academia, which hopefully many do, or they go into industry. Either way, they win by that sort of real time. This is the problem that people are having right now. To me, that's the real deal training. That's not a bunch of yellowed lecture sheets that nobody cares about that you could read about in the book. That's like, boom, we're solving problems now. We're making a difference that people care about now. It's useful professorship, not necessarily the best textbook conversations. It's about, hey, I don't know the answer to this. The best part of it all to me is everything they bring me is a pretty novel problem. You can't get a textbook on this problem. It's never been done before. So that's the best part, and I think that's what we want to train our students to do. The problems that we can train our students on now, they're solved. It's the next set that we say, novel problem, how do you deal with that?